Hannah, thank you so much for joining us here in Bentonville, Arkansas at the Bentonville Film Festival, the 10th anniversary. Very happy to have you here. I have seen your piece, and we're going to be talking about that. But for the viewing audience who haven't seen it yet, please tell them a little bit about it.
Golden Child is a dark comedy short film. It's about a young woman who goes to a pool party and is reunited with a childhood friend that used to pee on her when they were kids. So it kind of follows what ensues as a result of that reuniting.
And I have to ask, what was the inspiration for this piece?
There were a lot of things, I think there are a lot of themes in the film. It's a dark comedy, but there are definitely darker, ideas going on. And I was really thinking about the body and trauma, and I was also very interested in this concept of, it is a little bit allegorical of what does it mean for someone who always has to be around someone that assaulted them. It's such a common phenomenon, and whether it be in a familial setting or a college campus, it's such a prevalent issue. So I was really just thinking about that a lot and trying to make that topic accessible and hopefully relatable. It's not a funny subject, but I tried to do it with some humor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you definitely do have a body positive attitude on this. You're wearing a swimsuit in this film. Kudos. I am so glad you were comfortable in your skin and you realize how beautiful you are. Were there any extra challenges with putting yourself out there in a swimsuit, or is this just you're naturally who you are and accept me?
I think I've actually never wore anything backless in my entire life, and that is actually very challenging as someone that grew up shopping at Free People. But most of the stuff doesn't have backs. But I was part of the genesis of this too. Was I was very interested in the back image of what does this person who isn't a size 2 look like with her own back being shown, and the way it kind of is a way for there to be some possessiveness with the family, and and again this conversation about the body and what this character Lulu is experiencing. So honestly, it was something I've never done before. I've never worn something that maybe has no back and is super low cut. That's definitely the character, but I was trying to be in service of the story. So that's kind of where it came from. And I didn't even really think about it on the day. It just was this is what the story is. So I'm going to tell it. And I also wanted to show that be someone who's in a movie doesn't have to be a 0 or a 2.
And you look great on screen. So
thank you. I am beautiful.
You are. No, and this is and the character Lulu as well is a very independent, well-spoken. Mm-hmm. She's not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
Anymore being a key word. So talk a little bit about how you decided on the character for that to be that person.
I think Lulu, in some ways, is the straight man or, straight person of this in a comedic dynamic. So there's a lot of absurdity happening around her. And I think that part of the absurdity is everyone commenting on her, and just it's this weird. I tried to balance it of this, she's under a microscope but also not seen at all, and her needing to find a way to be heard and be seen. That's really kind of the arc of the story. So I needed to ratchet up the absurdity and the tension and all of that to the end. So we got to a place where Lulu was like, this is insane. I'm going to show you why what you are all saying to me is so messed up and hypocritical.
And there is almost a anti-patriarchal undertone of it of boys will be boys. Mm-hmm. But if a girl does the same thing, we're finally going to react the way we should have the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, something with this film, which I hope comes across, is there is that boys will be boys thing. And I think on top of that, there's just this general, there is such a gray area, I think, when it comes to like kids and what is appropriate, what is exploring, what is not, where is that line, and how much does it affect a child versus, it's such a blurry thing. And with the ending in particular, without giving it away, I really was actually interested in like subverting the idea of a revenge film a little bit, because I love like revenge films. There are a lot of films out there now that are kind of about a sexual assault or an assault of a woman and her going and taking revenge in like a violent way, or like real getting her valor kind of thing. And my hope is the end of this, like, you see the hypocrisy, and even though she gets hers in the end, I hope people are thinking about like what happens in the seconds immediately after she walks in the house, after she gets her revenge, because it's not good. Like, whatever happens after it, it's not like she stays like having won. It's like everything probably escalates into a worse situation, and the fallout is very fascinating to me. So in some ways, I hope it's a little bit of a subversion of what a revenge film kind of is. Yeah.
And are you wanting to keep this as a short, or are you hoping to get a chance to explore making it into, this be the proof of concept, making it a full?
I would love to make it a full feature, and that's something I'm working on right now. Especially being on the festival circuit, I've had really moving conversations with audience members about this resonating, and the more, I made it and then kind of took a step away while I was submitting to these festivals, and now being back immersed in this world, there's just so much more to say and to explore, and stuff that I haven't seen on screen, and it makes me really excited to try to do that, because it's nice when you can like show or discuss something that isn't really talked about in a accessible, funny, artful way, and it's very gratifying when people resonate with it too.
Oh, it speaks. It speaks with a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Bit of a sledgehammer, but a beautiful voice.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Of course, this was one of your first, and you were doing directing, and you were acting and writing. And what is the one piece of information you really wish someone had told you before that might have made this a smoother experience?
That's such a good question. Oh my gosh, because I love advice. Advice is a drug to me. I love it so much. There's so many things. I wish that there's the practical thing of being on set, and I wish I was better at knowing how eye lines change, being more tapped into that in a quicker way. That's a very practical thing. I remember being oh yeah, the eye lines of it all, which is not necessarily the director's job. The script supervisor does that, and there are other people checking on that, and the DP. But it was one of those things where I was it was just, I tried to be as knowledgeable as possible. I think that was something that really stood out. I was oh yeah, how eye lines change as your coverage changes. I really need to be, I wish I was quicker with that stuff. But what's something that I wish someone had told me before? I think, I had a lot of people say how insane this was, which it was. I guess it is a really crazy, it's not crazy, but it is if you can feel really risky, you go out and you raise money and you're really betting on yourself with, acting, writing, directing this thing. And especially as one of the first projects, it did feel like a big risk. And I think that maybe I wished someone had said, because you're doing all these things at once, you're not going to be as nervous as you think you are. Like, I was very nervous, like, going into it, but this whole process has been learning how to really trust myself. And I think there's also this element that no matter what, when you're doing all those things at once, like, you're so immersed in your project and it's so exhilarating that you don't have time to be freaking out or like being nervous. Like, you just throw yourself in it and do it. And I wish there was like that more positive tone or something like that it was. Yeah, I think that was like I wish people had like articulated the exhilaration of it more than like the fear, because everyone is so afraid to make their project, but I think you just have to do it.
To jump in? Mm-hmm. Well, I thank you so much for that. For anyone who wants to know can you tell us a little bit where this film is headed next, what your plans are, and how they can follow along on the journey?
Yeah, so we just started our festival run in April. We premiered at Aspen Shorts Fest and have been bopping around, which has been so exciting. I head next week to Nantucket Film Festival. We're also playing Woods Hole Film Festival later in the summer, and then I have like 25 more to hear back from, so fingers crossed. It's such a wild experience. The film will ultimately end up online sometime soon, and by soon is a relative term, because I don't it's either the fall or next year, depending on when the festival run ends, but it will be online, and you can follow along the journey. You can follow my Instagram at Hannah B Levin, Hannah B Levin, or there is an Instagram for the film, Golden Child Film, and people can follow the journey there. But I'm trying to keep making things, and I'm writing a lot, and so I can't wait for the next one too.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.